Have you ever walked away from a fight thinking, how did we end up here again? You told yourself you wouldn't raise your voice this time, and you told yourself you wouldn't bring up the past, and somehow you're right back in the same argument, same tone, same tension, same ending. And if you keep having the same fight in your marriage, it's not because you married the wrong person. It's because you're stuck in a pattern you haven't interrupted yet. So in this episode, we're going to show you how you can break the cycle without shutting down or escalating. So stay with us, because the second shift we share is one that a lot of couples completely miss. If you've ever found yourself thinking, why do we keep having the same argument, or why does connection feel harder than it used to, you're not alone. Welcome to Marriage, Intimacy and Healing with Andrew and Lara.
We're a husband and wife team, blending science-based coaching and clinical nervous system insight to help couples understand what's really happening underneath conflict, distance, and emotional shutdown.
I'm Lara. I'm an ICF PCC certified coach and educator.
And I'm Andrew, a licensed physical therapist specializing in body, mind, heart integration with extensive experience helping high-performing individuals navigate stress, communication, and emotional regulation.
Together, we help you recognize the patterns that pull you apart and offer practical, grounded shifts that bring you back into connection. Let's dive into today's episode. You already know this script before it starts. You brace yourself when your partner sighs or they look a certain way or they roll their eyes, and you are already like, oh my gosh, not again. And often it's not about the dishes, which is a metaphor for a lot of things. It's about feeling unseen by your spouse. So we're going to break down what this looks like in a marriage, because underneath these repeated arguments, there's exhaustion and there is more than anger. It might sound something like this for you, like spouse A, you never help. Spouse B, that's not fair. A hears, you don't matter, and B hears, you're failing. Does that sound familiar to you? But underneath, there's this emotional layer that's going on, and it would be funny to actually have a fight saying the actual emotional layer rather than the words on top.
That would be interesting, like an inside out episode of what's really going on.
It would, because it would be like, I'm feeling really inadequate right now. And then you might be I'm feeling a fear of being controlled because that's something I don't like feeling. Or I fear that I'm being dismissed and that my answers don't matter, or whatever the dialogue
feel
might
underappreciated, or it's so many things and individual to everyone.
That's right. Yeah. And that's the emotional layer that's usually in a repeated cycle that's underneath. So what's happening? Well, it's the conflict loop. A lot of you wouldn't realize what's behind this conflict loop, but it's something like couples thinking we just need better communication. And in the reality, what's going on is that you're reacting to perceived relational threat. So it feels like I'm under threat and I'm instantly going into nervous system sort of fight flight, and I'm not hearing the words underneath anymore. I'm just in protection mode. And a lot of relationship research has been around this, which is what makes this so interesting, because it shows that when you start an argument with a harsh, like really reactive tone or a harsh startup, that normally predicts how it ends. So it's either going to end in defensiveness because we started harsh with each other, we started in a really reactive place, or it's going to dissolve very quickly. Sometimes as quick as 5 seconds, because we started the argument in a way that actually the way you start is often going to predict the way that you finish.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of other situations where you've come to me with not so much a threatening response, but you just mentioned something that's happening in the house. Yeah. And I've taken it like, you're not doing enough, Andrew.
Oh, yeah.
So there's plenty of situations,
For sure.
and you all have your individual triggers or things that happen for you. But there are things that happen where it's there's more going on, and there's more going on for the person receiving it and giving it.
And we so often, what couples do is they misinterpret the behavior that's going on, or in the behavior being the tone, or the volume of our voice, or the things we're saying, but we misinterpret that behavior as something entirely different. And it could be like a stubbornness when it's actually protection. So often we're in a protective mode with each other, and that's causing us to go into these loops. But then where you can start to pattern interrupt is by noticing what's going on in your body. So what would the body feel like in this situation?
Well, we talked about threat. So any of these things, this could be, I could feel sad, I could feel hurt because she didn't see something I did and I feel misinterpreted, or I could feel angry because she's bringing it up again and again and again, and whatever the situation is there, right? But that gets you into a place of protectiveness. You get a threat, and so your heart rate rises. You'd feel some degree of rising. If it's more emotional, more anger rising up, you'd probably feel this rising heat type sort of feeling, within you. And that's hard to hold down. And in the end, it's hard to, and we can't. We're not made to. We're feeling something big like that.
It's emotion.
It's emotion. It's gonna manifest in our body. We'd get a cortisol increase, and so generally our listening narrows when our heart rate spikes. This is what we tend to say: heart rate spikes, our empathy drops.
It's true.
That's just they go together, because we're into threat mode and we're just dealing with that, some defensiveness or whatever.
So what can we do? One of the tools we can give you is to name the loop. Like if you recognize that, this is us. We do fight a lot, and sometimes we don't even really realize what it's about, or it's not about anything big. The first thing is, we have a loop going on here, and a pattern where we seem to always argue at this point in the day or at this about this particular issue. So what you want to do is call out the pattern the moment you notice the tone shift in your marriage, or you notice, like Andrew was saying, like your heart rate going up, or that you're starting to observe, oh my gosh, I'm feeling like I'm going into threat, and nothing really major's happened, but you can see that it's going to.
It's great.
And as a cool little sentence you could say with each other, which might not be that easy at first, is, I think we've stepped into this pattern, or our pattern again, this reactive pattern that we have. And by doing that, what you're actually saying, and I don't mean sarcastically, like just stop yourself, don't do it sarcastically, but what you're actually doing is moving from being opponents, like, wrestling each other, so to speak, verbally, to observers of your behavior. So you're just sort of pulling back for a second and going, oh my gosh, we're in a pattern. Can we just step into an observer mode and just look at what's going on here? Yeah,
because the more you can't, when the nervous system's in overload, it's spiking up, you can't reason it out, it's just happening. And the more and more you try and get defensive, the more, and it goes and goes and goes, because both people have a valid place and a valid argument, a valid place.
Something we want.
Wants and emotions that they're both almost clashing about, but they're not solving each other, and so it's never gonna ease off like that. So naming it's really good. It could be fun. It could be like, well, we're there, or like shifting pattern.
I think we just stepped into our pattern again.
Stepped into the pattern, and it might be like a fun thing that
which
ends
might
up being
actually really annoy each other as well, but true. Like each to their own. Let's see. But the second tool that you can do is just a quick little 90-second reset. This is really simple. It's pause and regulate before continuing. So just pause, stop, and just take a breath and regulate yourself. Regulating yourself is like, I'm noticing my nervous system, as Andrew was saying, my heart rate, my cortisol. I'm noticing that my body's going into threat. So I'm just going to take a minute to just, first of all, pattern interrupt. Oh, we're in that pattern. Take a breath. Let's just take a minute just to calm down. To de-escalate yourself from escalating.
And this can feel very touchy-feely. For a guy, it can be just like, I feel I'm getting up to that place. It's not going to be useful. It's like, I need a moment, and you can be 90 seconds. And if you want to be on your own to regulate, then great. But just in another room, whatever, you get to the place, and then we come back.
Yeah, and it's good because as soon as you notice the defensiveness, that's the sign. That's when you want to go, I just need 90 seconds to regulate because I don't want to keep having the same fight. The reality is we don't want to keep having the same fight over and over again. The sentence you're saying here is, I don't want to win this.
Yeah,
I want
good.
to understand. I want to change this in our marriage or our relationship. So it's saying to each other, like, help me, what am I missing here? What am I missing with you? Like, help me understand. I want to understand. You might feel like, but I do want to win. Well, pause for a second, because before you want to win, you want to connect with each other. So I don't want to win. I want to understand. Regulate yourself. Just take a minute.
Well, it's important. And I think early advice when we got married was that, Andrew, building a marriage together is not about winning. It's not about being right and wrong.
Yeah.
It's about understanding each other and connecting to each other and becoming deep, deep friends and lovers and all of those things that you're becoming.
Yeah.
So leave that right to be the right to be correct, the right to be right, the right to be who's right and wrong, the right to feel I've got something to solve it. Leave that. Just throw that away for this in this situation.
Because you're both fighting with each other, but you're fighting to be heard and you're fighting to connect. And it is hard when only one of you makes the decision to change. But let me tell you, if you are that one person, the one person changing can actually cause a ricochet effect in the other person as well. I do think sometimes it does take the bigger, braver, stronger kind of person to actually pattern interrupt. And yeah, it can be hard when you're not on the same team. But the mistake would be to storm off without returning, because then you are actually not moving your relationship forward and developing the skills for the problem that's on repeat. And there is a solution. There is a skill to learn for every repeated problem and behavior that you have in your marriage. So it's being humble enough to say, I want to learn and I want to change and I don't know everything. But regulation restores your access to empathy. And you're going to need that empathy with each other when it comes to, help me, what am I missing here? I don't want to be right. I want to understand, so that you can move forward.
That's great. So let's give an example of a couple in an argument, and they're in a heated place. It's built up to this place, and they get to one moment where they want to shift it. And they say, all right, we're not fighting about the dishes anymore. We're fighting about feeling unappreciated. So that realization softens the escalation immediately.
Yeah, and that's where when you are softening and you are letting yourself calm down, you're able to access, and empathy can come back online, which is so needed when you have these loops. So you don't need a new partner. You don't need to throw each other out because you are having fights. It's normal to have fights. But you do need an interruption strategy, something different when it comes to these looping fights. Yeah. So the reflection here is to ask yourself, what is this fight actually protecting in me? What is the way my behavior constantly is in these fights and these arguments? What is it protecting?
Yeah. Because that's almost like
me.
a good question to think, how can I grow from this?
Yeah.
What am I protecting? What's this part that needs to heal and get better? That's good.
And next week we're going to really unpack what defensiveness is, continuing on in this series of why we argue so much and what we can do to pattern interrupt it. So what defensiveness is, what it's there for, and what it's protecting, and we'll talk about that in our next episode.
Thanks so much for being here and showing up, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for joining us on today's Marriage, Intimacy and Healing. If this episode supported you, we'd love for you to download our free 3-minute BMH marriage reset at andrewandlara.com. It's the quickest way to shift out of stress and back into connection. And for deeper support and to explore our resources and coaching, you can find everything at andrewandlara.com.
Before you go, following the show or sharing this episode with another couple really helps more people find this kind of support. And we're so grateful when you do.
We're Andrew and Lara, and we'll see you next week.